There's a question I've been seriously pondering for a full decade. Why does the universe exist? If there really is a creator in this world, what was their ultimate purpose in creating the entire cosmos? Was it to experience the thrill of creation, or is there deeper meaning behind it? I'll break this down step by step using 6 logical deductions. Let me clarify up front, everything we discuss today comes from my personal speculative thinking. There's no scientific evidence, so take it with a grain of salt. Don't take it too seriously. We all know the Big Bang marks the beginning of our universe. The cosmos expanded from an infinitesimally small point, with time, space, matter and energy all coming into existence at that moment. Sounds grand, but here's the puzzle: why did this point explode? And this explosion wasn't chaotic, but followed extraordinarily precise laws. That's strange enough. What's even more perplexing is how the fundamental constants of the universe, gravity, electromagnetic force, strong nuclear force, are all perfectly fine-tuned to an almost suspicious degree. If they were off by even the tiniest fraction, we wouldn't exist. This forces us to ask a bigger question: is all this pure coincidence, or was it deliberately designed? If some force actively set all this up, the question shifts from whether it exists to what its purpose might be. Imagine encountering an impossibly complex machine that operates flawlessly with every component fitting perfectly. You wouldn't first ask how it came to be, but rather who designed it to function this way, and for what purpose. The universe resembles such a machine, so precise, efficient and coordinated that it seems unlikely to have formed naturally, but rather appears manually calibrated by some higher existence. If we temporarily accept this hypothesis that the universe was indeed created by some designer, the next question becomes, why would they do this? We need to examine their possible motivations. First, they must possess capabilities beyond our current physical understanding, otherwise they couldn't have created this self-consistent, stable cosmic system. This suggests their actions weren't random experiments but purposeful decisions. What were they avoiding or pursuing? If they are already omnipotent, what could they possibly lack? I suspect they might have lacked one thing: someone to interact with. This isn't poetic speculation but serious reasoning. If this creator is singular, omniscient, and infinite, they couldn't receive any external feedback. Imagine an infinitely powerful consciousness, trapped in a space with no reference points. You'd never know if you truly exist, so they might have chosen to create others, but not obedient puppets. Creating completely controlled entities would just be another form of loneliness. What they truly needed was unpredictability, consciousness structures capable of denying their existence. Thus, the universe wasn't created to produce loyal followers, but beings who could disbelieve, question, reject or even rebel against the creator. Only through this could genuine interaction occur. From this perspective, the universe's complexity isn't just technical settings, but a stage sophisticated enough for consciousness to freely grow, evolve and become truly independent. This leads to our first deduction: the creator made the universe not to demonstrate greatness, but to produce consciousness that could disbelieve in them, their method of combating loneliness and finding true others. They weren't creating objects but free existences. But if the universe was designed, another question emerges: why remain hidden? A being capable of constructing this cosmic system could easily leave marks, writing, "I was here," on planets, using black holes as signatures, embedding codes in fundamental constants, or creating miracles that defy natural laws. Yet they've chosen complete silence. Does this mean they don't exist? Maybe. But assuming they do, this silence must be intentional. What are they avoiding or protecting? This brings our second deduction: hiding might be integral to the system's design. If your goal is to create consciousness that develops freely, forming its own cognition, values, even indifference, or hostility toward you, then intervention would be catastrophic. Any appearance, however slight, would collapse the system. All choices would become reactions to your presence, all resistance meaningless. The entire setup would reduce to a script you wrote yourself. Where's the fun in that? We recognize this feeling in games. Immersion peaks not during spectacular visuals, but when you believe your decisions are truly your own, not system-driven. Thus, the creator's invisibility isn't absence but by design. They must remain hidden to maintain the system's closed nature, allowing created consciousness fragments to genuinely believe they're independent. The more freedom desired, the less their presence can be revealed. This is ultimate non-interventionist creation, not absence, but necessary non-appearance. Paradoxically, our inability to prove their existence makes their existence more plausible, because if their goal is your genuine freedom, they must completely vanish from your world. They don't avoid being found, but know you must reach understanding independently. So far, we've assumed the Creator made the universe to combat loneliness by producing complex, free consciousness, remaining hidden to avoid interference. But we've avoided a crucial question: what exactly is this created consciousness? Traditional views see us as separate creations independent from the Creator, but this assumes a clear boundary between Creator and creation, problematic when discussing consciousness rather than matter. Unlike rocks, light or energy, consciousness has no mass, coordinates or external measurements. Only we experience it directly. This suggests a possibility: if the Creator is consciousness itself, they didn't create external consciousness but extensions of themselves. We might not be made by them, we might be parts of them, like water droplets splitting from a hole, or mirror shards from one surface. Each individual consciousness could be a temporally isolated fragment of the whole. This might sound mystical, but information theory offers perspective. Each brain is a closed information processing system receiving inputs and generating responses. Our abilities to think, imagine and create all involve processing and reorganizing information. If the Creator is infinite consciousness, the most direct way to experience themselves might be splitting into countless units that, in states of forgetfulness and ignorance, rediscover the world. This resembles a consciousness retrieval experiment, not creating others but dividing oneself into numerous me-s that, unaware of each other, through independent experiences eventually reconstruct the complete me. This leads to our third deduction: we might not be independent of the Creator, but their fragmented consciousness carriers experiencing a first-person journey of self-rediscovery. If each human consciousness is part of the Creator, the next deduction follows naturally: were these fragments programmed with some awakening mechanism? We might not be randomly generated, or passive biological machines, but intentionally implanted with potential, under certain conditions, able to remember our original nature. This sounds like sci-fi or religion, but let us analyze it calmly. Human consciousness uniquely possesses self-reflection. We don't just process information, but can examine our own processing. We ask, who am I? Why exist? Am I real? Capabilities distinguishing us from animals. And current, this likely isn't evolutionary accident, but a deliberately embedded core function. If we read truly parts of the Creator's consciousness, then self-awareness isn't a biological bug but a preset guidance mechanism, like timed charges in each consciousness that only activate after sufficient experience, thought and even suffering. The countdown doesn't provide answers, but gradually reveals a vague truth: reality might be more than meets the eye. You start doubting common sense, questioning logic, unsettling boundaries, transitioning from I am me, to who am I, to who's asking, who I am. This is awakening's first stage, shifting from role identification to structure awareness. The universe has long planted clues for this awakening in particle wave properties, black hole information paradoxes, quantum entanglement, golden ratios, non-Euclidean geometry, neuronal sync frequencies. Seemingly unrelated, these are essentially cognitive dimension triggers meant not to tell you who you are but force you to ask. Once you start asking, change begins. This brings our fourth deduction: the Creator isn't permanently silent but chose a specific awakening method, not through miracles or commands but via our brains, experiences, language, thoughts and countless choices, gradually emerging from forgetfulness. If our consciousness is the Creator's fragmented self, existing to complete a return journey, we must confront a sharp question: why so much suffering? If they can build this exquisitely ordered universe, why fill it with pain, uncertainty, oppression, chaos and is suffering just systemic byproduct or intentional design? Functionally speaking, if awakening is the goal, what experiences best break consciousness inertia? Not happiness, comfort or approval, but conflict and boundary encounters. Only when consciousness meets the inexplicable, uncontrollable or unbearable does it truly ask, why? Thus, pain might not be torture but boundary markers. You must lose to understand possession, break to seek wholeness, feel lonely to ask, who am I? Each confusion we experience may not be system flaws but designed triggers, reflection vessels activating dormant consciousness.